Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
How are you? It's funny because I, of course, can't hear anybody, but I'm assuming you're all applauding very loud right now, just as if we were all in one big room together. I'm really excited to share this webinar with my good friend Richard Robbins. Really, I can't say thank you enough for joining RE/MAX of Europe today. What can I say? So many of us have been through so much, and so much so unexpected. Who would have thought at the beginning of the year that we all would have ended up quarantined in our homes around the whole world at this time? It's unthinkable. Just speaking for myself, to tell you quickly my story, I arrived in Florida in about, I think, the 7th of December. And just before that, my plan was to stay over Christmas and New Year's with family. Just before that, my father ran into some fairly serious health issues, and I think you all know Mr. P. And they were serious enough that through December, I decided that first I was going to go back to Europe for a few weeks and then return, and then found them serious enough that I would stay and not even return to Europe. I was going to go back around this time, around the beginning of April, because he liked having me here with them. Well, I got extended a couple of times. The good news is Mr. P is doing really, really well. From what was a serious kidney issue in December in hospital, a couple of surgeries. He's now been doing dialysis. In January, he really could not walk, barely walk. In February, he was walking with the two-handed walker, and in March, he's gotten really strong. He's a very resilient guy with a very positive outlook, and he's walking very well. Some of you may have seen the video I posted on Facebook and Instagram, walking just with a cane with one hand, doing laps around the swimming pool we have out here. So Mr. P is doing great, and he's actually out at his dialysis appointment right now. Otherwise, he would have loved to have joined this meeting also. What I didn't expect was to be stranded, and now I'm a little bit of a refugee with no way of getting back to Europe, and then I would just be isolated in Europe. So in a way, I guess maybe I'm a little bit fortunate to be here with my father. What have I seen since all of this has started? Well, what I have seen is incredible unity inside of the RE/MAX system. I have encountered, some nervousness, which is normal. Everybody's nervous of the unknown, obvious health concerns and business concern. But what's amazing is this incredibly dangerous health situation in so many ways has never shown our network in RE/MAX to be stronger. The interaction that I have seen between RE/MAX people on these Zoom videos, on connecting with myself speaking to people, whether it's as individuals or regional owners, and we're doing some, separate, some smaller meetings. I've heard we have, a couple of thousand people on this on this meeting today. The power of the network has never been stronger, and we might be alone in our homes, but we are not alone inside of RE/MAX. There has never been a more important time to really maintain mental resilience and focus. I've said this in some of the videos that I've posted. I'm not sure how many people watch them. Maybe you see too many videos from me, but I have really adapted to a routine that is the same as my routine would be on most normal business days. I am up even earlier. I'm normally a very early riser. Now that has shifted to sometimes. I think the other day I had my first call at 3:30 a.m. Today I was on the phone at 3:30 a.m. speaking to Dario from Remax in Italy. We talked for almost an hour between 3:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. These kinds of connections are very important. What do I say to all of you as individuals? I know that you're isolated, but make sure that you are connecting. Connect inside of Remax to all of the training. You're obviously doing that on a webinar today. And Richard and I, of course, spoke before this. It's funny how similar our messages are. There's never been a more important time to be connecting with not just our customer base, of course, our customer base, but really everybody that we know. If you treat each day like as much like a regular work day as possible, people want to talk right now, and they want to hear that connection, and making those connections is really important. Everybody has a different situation, a different story to tell. The severity of how hard this health crisis has hit Italy and Spain and some other places has been unbelievable. But at the same time, I see the resilience of the Remax teams there working and making sure that everybody is connected. I can't say enough about how important that is for you to participate inside of Remax and really taking the time to connect to those people around you. People really want to talk right now. Before I hand things over to Richard, I can't say enough about mental focus and positive attitude. You know, my father remembers the end of World War II when the bombers were coming every day, when he was living in a small village in Austria. He said that was incredibly stressful time too, when there was incredible unknown. He has seen many recessions and downturns. Richard, you've been in the business a long time. I've seen several very severe recessions. I started with Remax in 1986. Yes, we're going to be challenged in the business, but the time we put into our business in preparing and really looking at what maybe we could have done differently. You know, our listings have as much information as possible with great videos and great pictures, so that they can that people can be looking and being ready for when the market comes out. Having that mental focus, taking this time to reassess everything that you're doing in your life. There's never been a better time for it. I can say a few more words at the end, but we're here to hear from my good friend Richard Robbins. Rich, tell us what to do.
Okay, Michael, thank you so much. And Michael, I must admit, this is the first time that I know if I'm on schedule or not, because I got a clock right behind you. So I get to watch the clock. This is perfect. That usually I got to look at my watch. So thank you for that.
There's a bit of a funny story behind this clock. It's the only place in the house where I have a table and a clear wall in a quiet room. So if anybody's wondering why I'm always doing my videos in front of that clock, that is why I've made my own personal studio, and all of this is being done from my iPhone, not even from a computer, on an iPhone on a tripod.
Amazing, right? Hey, it's really cool what we can do today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. You know, with technology, if we all think about it right now, if we just go back, you know, even 10 years, we couldn't have been doing what we're doing right now as a group. And I'll talk a little more about that as we start to get started. But first of all, I want to thank you all for joining us today. It's my honor to be here with all of you. It's a very busy time for me, obviously. I'm not traveling, but I'm doing an awful lot of webinars right now, doing what I can to hopefully get a positive and a tactical message out to people as to what they can be doing right now. Now, obviously, right now, I'm speaking to RE/MAX of Europe. I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto right now. That's where I live. I actually have a place down in Florida, not too far from where Michael is. And I must admit, I might have made the wrong choice by coming home because his weather's much better than mine right now. But anyway,
30 degrees today.
Yeah, it's not quite 30 here, Michael. But anyway, I'm home with my family, and that's what's most important. So, you know, it was funny when I was putting this together. I'm going to talk about 3 keys to staying positive and productive as we go through this. But I do want to recognize all of you, because I know right now you're probably dealing with a lot. Everybody's dealing with something different. You know, we all have these thoughts going on in our head that are probably challenging us at times. Hopefully, we're more positive than we are negative. When I was putting this message together, I want you to know that I didn't take it lightly. I was really trying to create something that is not just, you know, highly motivational. Oh, yeah, it's all going to be great. It was more about what can we be doing right now so that at the end of the day, not only we positive, but we really feel productive in terms of what we're doing. So I'm going to take you through 3 keys. It's probably take me, you know, 20, 25 minutes or so. And then hopefully Michael and I can chat. Maybe we can answer some of your questions. We'll see how we do based on time. We'll leave that up to Haley. So the first point is this. I think what we all need to do right now more than anything else is we've got to make sure that we are part of the solution, not the problem. Now, I understand in Europe that most of you are in lockdown. Obviously, in North America, we're in lockdown as well. I'm not convinced we're locked down as much as maybe many countries in Europe right now. So I sort of understand that you're probably going through a lot and you're thinking to yourself, well, you know, I am being a part of the solution, not being a part of the problem, because I'm obviously in a lockdown. But I look at it and I say that, you know, all of us need to do whatever we can to flatten this curve, obviously. And the number one priority that every human being, I think, in the world has right now is to not spread this virus in any way, shape, or form that we can. Now, saying that, we're saying, well, what about business, Rich? And yeah, I want to be a part of the solution, but you know, this is affecting me financially, as it is us all, by the way. We're all going through exactly the same thing. But I look at it and say, I also think right now, being a part of the solution, not the problem, we can also be a part of the solution in other ways. So an example is there are houses or apartments or whatever the case may be still selling in every single market in the world based on what I have researched. Now, are sales way down? 100%. Are they way off? Yes, 100%. But there are still opportunities there where we can be not only a part of the solution of not spreading the virus, but we can still be a part of the solution of potentially helping people that have to buy and sell right now. Now, somebody said to me, they go, but Rich, they said, you know, are people really going to be buying real estate sight unseen? And I go, people have been buying real estate sight unseen for as long as I remember. Anytime we buy a new condominium apartment off of a floor plan, we bought sight unseen. Anytime we buy a house off of a floor plan, we buy sight unseen. So one way to be part of the solution right now for those people, and remember, there are some people out there in the world that they're in a position that they have to sell. And there are some people in the world that are in a position where they potentially could have to buy. So being a part of that solution is saying, okay, if that is the case, then are we taking on listings and are we using technology, okay, whether it be with photos or whether it be with video or whatever the case is, 3D tours, where what we're actually doing is we're allowing the buyers to be able to see these properties in a way they would consider making an offer, even if they have to make an offer that's conditional upon maybe seeing it at some point. But what I'm experiencing with, you know, the coaching members that we work with and so many people that I'm talking to, there are still sales helping going on out there. And what I mean is that we need to be a part of the solution and not spreading the virus, but we also need to be a part of the solution and helping people that really need our help right now. Now, I don't know about what's going on in Europe, but I know in Canada, other than Quebec, the only province, real estate agents were deemed an essential service. Now, that doesn't mean they should be out showing property, but what it means is there are people that either have to buy and have to sell, and we need to be a part of that solution. You know, we can do virtual showings right now. So I just want you to give some thought to that. And right now, this is a great opportunity for all of us to be learning technologies that we were too busy to learn before. Is there a possibility that what we're going through right now might change the way that we sell real estate? And I would say that is a distinct possibility. So if that is the case, you got to be saying, well, listen, if I'm going to list a property right now, then I better make sure that people can view it, okay, online. And that isn't going to stop after this passes. We need to be investing our time, okay, in learning these particular technologies right now. So I think that's the first. And, you know, I just put up here iGuide. iGuide is a great platform that does 3D tours. There's another one called Matterport. I'm sure there's many others that you might know of, but this is the type of stuff you should be researching right now, and just have a look at it and say, what could I be learning right now? What could I be using right now that would allow buyers and sellers to be able to either sell their property or view their property where I or they do not have to leave their house? Okay, so that's the first consideration. So don't think business has to stop. But the second one is this. I think the second point is we all have to stop selling and we need to start helping. Now you might say, Rich, didn't you just say that, you know, there's a possibility we could still be doing some business? And the answer to that is yes. But let me explain what I mean. The first thing we have to do is be what I call ethically opportunistic. Ethically opportunistic. Now, what that means is there are going to be opportunities out there. Listen, any market, in anywhere in the world, houses are still going to be bought and sold on a regular basis. As I said, volume's going to be down. So when I say ethically opportunistic, what I'm talking about is what we need to do is we've got to be helping the people that need our help. That's the first thing. However, those ones are going to be few right now and probably far between and much less than we're used to. So then what do we do with our time when we have this time available? And this is not the time to not be working. I talked to Michael about this before we started this webinar, and I said to Michael, first of all, I've been following Michael on Instagram, and I can see he's up early in the morning. He's making things happen. We set up this webinar, all these things. Like, he's working harder than he's ever worked before. I know I'm working harder than I've ever worked before. And to me, this isn't the time to step back. This is the time to step forward. Then if that's the case, what should you be doing? And I'm going to give you 3 ideas here on what you should be doing. The first is this. You need to be reaching out to everybody in your database right now. Now, when I say reaching out, I'm not talking about sending emails. That doesn't mean that you can't send out an email blast to your database. But I'm talking that we need to get on the telephone, or we use FaceTime, or we use Zoom, whatever it is. But we have voice-to-voice or real face-to-face live conversations with people. And here's why, is right now, people probably have more time in their hands than ever before. People want to talk right now. They really do. Anybody I'm talking to, my conversations are longer than they normally are because people, they just want to talk about what it is they're going through. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine that if you reached out to all of your past clients, all of your future clients, everybody you have in your database, and let's say as an example that what you have is you've got, you know, I'm going to say, pick 100 people in your database, whatever the number happens to be. And you commit the next 4 weeks to talking to every single person in your database. And what you do is if you're going to do it over the next 4 weeks, let's say you worked 5 days a week, that means you've got roughly 20 days. So if you had 100 people in your database, we've got to talk to 5 people every single day. So that's how I would break it down to make it easier. You take, you know, the big thing, you break it down into smaller chunks. Now you got to talk to 5 people a day. And the conversation should not be about real estate. Now, will they bring up real estate? Quite possibly, but you don't bring up real estate. What you do is you call them up and you just say, hey, John, I wanted to give you a call. Obviously, we're going through crazy times right now. I just wanted to see, how are you and your family doing? Well, when you ask that question, because I've asked this question many times over the last number of weeks, is that they will just all of a sudden come unglued and they will tell you everything that's going on in their life because people want to talk. Self-isolation, people talk about self-isolation, and I'm not convinced self-isolation should be the word. Physical isolation, yes, but that doesn't mean we can't be communicating, as Michael said, and talking with other people. You know, your past clients, that's probably your priority after your family, and also reaching out to other people in the RE/MAX network to say, what are you doing right now? How are you making out? You know, and having conversations with these people. Now, when you do that, they're going to talk a lot about what's going on, which is fabulous, right? But then what you want to do is, after you've had this conversation, is just say to them, if you have any questions or there's anything I can do for you at all, please let me know. And don't mention real estate. Now, in a lot of cases, I promise you this, they're going to bring up real estate, because all of our clients have been making these calls and they're talking to me. They're saying, Rich, you know, people want to know about, you know, I was thinking of selling and, you know, we're not going to do it right now, but, you know, what do you think is going to happen here? When should we consider doing this? Or what could we be doing to getting our house ready or apartment ready for sale? You know, all these sort of things. Or they might say, well, you know, when this is all over, you know, we're really interested in getting involved in buying something. Great. What can I be sending you right now to help you through this process where you're bringing value to them right now? Okay. So let me take you through a few ideas that some of our clients have done. So the first, his name is Adil Ismail. Now, Adil's been a client of ours for about 18 years. Fabulous, fabulous dude. One of the greatest hearts you will ever find. Adil sent me an email just after this all started, and proactively sent me an email and said, hey, Rich, guess what? He goes, I know what you're going to be telling everybody to do. I've been here before. You're going to be telling everybody, we got to start phoning people. Forget the text, forget the emails. We got to be voice to voice, right? Or we got to be face to face using FaceTime. He goes, well, I'm committed to this, Rich. I'm committed to talking 10 people every single day. Now, here's what happened. And I'm not saying this could be a good idea at this point, especially in Europe where you're probably locked down a little bit more. But this lady said to him, she goes, oh, it's crazy. My kids love chicken, and I've been in a bunch of stores and I can't find chicken. So what Adil did was he made arrangements to have chicken delivered to her front door. And then when it was dropped off, somebody texted him and he texted her to say it was at the front door. That's called delivering the unexpected. Now, I want to ask you all a question. Adil did this in very difficult times. Do you think she will ever forget that? No, she will never forget that. See, what Adil has done is he has created a relationship of trust that if she ever wants to doing a real estate, I can't imagine her for the life of me not calling Adil, right? Because he just cemented a relationship. Because here's what I know, when you call them when times are really good, when you call them and the market's crazy good, well, that's not a big call to them, is it? You know, and they go, oh, yeah, you're calling me because, you know, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking of real estate. When you call them when times are bad and you never bring up real estate, that is something they'll remember forever. And remember this, the number one thing a buyer and seller is asking themselves when they're trying to choose an agent is, who can I trust? Who can I trust? Well, by Adil doing that, guess who they're going to say they can trust? I want to tell you another story about John. He's out in Calgary, Alberta, and he's got a fairly large team. John said he was on one of our coaching calls, and anyway, I talked about making these calls. John said for the last 10 years, because he's got a big team, he's been busy, right? He's doing hundreds of deals a year. He said, you know, I haven't been making any of these calls. And he said, you know, when you said it, Rich, it hit me. I got to get back to that right away. John's a gentleman in the middle, by the way. So this was the email he sent me after. He said 20 calls, 17 picked up. Now, in normal times, would 17 people at 20 pick up? No, because we're all so busy. But everybody's picking up the phone, right? So it says, all were uber pleased to hear from me and even more appreciative of receiving a call and offering to get food or medicine, you know, because he was phoning some older people, right, that weren't so well. And, you know, he was making arrangements to maybe have some medicine delivered and to see how the family is. Imagine that he made 20 calls in one day, 17 picked up. Every day after that, since he sent me this, he's actually talked to 10 people. This is going to pay dividends when we come out of this. I mean dividends, because people will remember John and his team. But not only that, he's been tracking his numbers, because I said, John, I want to know how many people bring up real estate when you have these conversations. And he's not bringing it up. He said, so far, roughly 50% of the people I talk to have a question about real estate. Brilliant. I got another great client. His name is Nathan Dart. He's down in Maryland, down in the US. And Nathan went through a really terrible time back in '08 when we had when the financial, meltdown happened in the U.S. We weren't as affected in Canada when the financial meltdown happened in the U.S., but the U.S. was it was dramatically affected. If we go to Florida, they had 3 years of inventory. Now, a balanced market's 4 to 6 months. They had 3 years. They had 36 months of inventory. Okay, it was crazy. Prices were just diving. And Nathan went through a very difficult time back then. And he said, I'm not going to make the same mistake he said that I made back in '08. And I said, what was the mistake? He goes, I did not stay in touch with my clients. He goes, I was suffering so much.
Alles gut.
Yeah, he said, I was suffering so much that I got caught up in what was going on in my life and I stopped reaching out to people. And he goes, what happened was it took me a long time to get started after it was over. And I want to give you one more idea. This is from another one of my clients. It's Keith. He's out in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I think this is brilliant. Some of you might be familiar with the app called Calendly. Now, it's a very difficult word to say for me, Calendly. And anyway, what this is an app that you can use, and you could send somebody an email. You can put this up on your website. We use this in our website as a company, and somebody can just click on this app and it will open up and it will allow you to book an appointment with somebody. So what he has done is he sent out this video, okay? It was an email blast that went out. He's still making his phone calls, but this was an email blast that went out. And it went something like this. You know, hi, everyone. Hope you're all well and healthy. You know, I know we're all going through very difficult times right now, and I'm sure many of you might have questions, you know, regarding, you know, what's happening out there in the world, especially in real estate. And he put a bunch of questions. Are deals still closing? Right? You know what I mean? What do you think is going to happen with prices? And he put a bunch of, you know, the most commonly asked questions that he's been getting from people. He had 10 questions. And he said, I don't want to bother you, but I thought if you have any questions you want to ask me, you can just click on the link. And I put time slots, right? Little book, 15 minutes appointments. And it books right in his calendar. And he can determine when he's going to open up his calendar. So in other words, he was opening up his calendar, say, I'm just giving you some examples. On Monday from 10 to 12, you could book a 15-minute slot. Or on Tuesday from 2 to 4 in the afternoon, you could book a 15-minute slot. And this is brilliant because now you're allowing them, okay, with no pressure to possibly click on that link and book a 15-minute call with you. I just got to move something on my screen here. The problem is my picture was way over at the side, which causes me to look over the side instead of look at the camera. Okay, so anyway, so Calendly is a really great thing that you can be using right now. You can send this out, you know, through email. You can send it out through text. You can put this up on your website. But have a look at that. You might find this helpful as well. And then, of course, as we start to move on, the other thing you can be doing right now, so this is sort of the second thing. The first is making phone calls. But the second thing is you need to be posting valuable content. So I look at it and say, what can you be doing to helping? And what you got to be is visible right now. You know, I think being visible is very, very important. This isn't a time we should be hiding. This isn't a time we should be lying on the couch, you know, watching the news. This is a time we got to get out into the world and we got to be visible. So in other words, the first thing we do is we reach out to our database, see how everybody's doing. The second thing, we start to post, we start to blog, we start to send email blasts, you know, that is helpful, valuable content. So what would be helpful, valuable content? So things like, maybe you can be talking about what's happening with interest rates, legislation changes that could be happening, okay, in your area, maybe local businesses, what is going on. If there are restaurants delivering food, let people know what's going on. You know, ideas to entertain kids at home, free apps. There's all kinds of cool free apps out there right now where people can, you know, go through museums virtually, which is really cool stuff, right? You know, how to prepare a home if you're going to list it. You know, I want to show you something. What did I do with it? Right here. I got this one client. I hope you can see this. But what he did was he created this little thing, and you check it off. And what it says is it says home sale readiness audit. And I love this idea. So what he does, you rate yourself in 1 to 5 in all these different areas. Is your home ready, okay, to go on the market? Because a lot of people are going to be doing something right after this is over. So visuals, exterior street presence, 1 to 5, how's it look? Front entry, 1 to 5, how's it look? And you actually go through the whole list, you check them all off, and then at the end, you have a score on your readiness. So little things like this that is valuable to people that are sitting at home right now. And then, of course, I think the third step in it all is every day, create content. Create content, create content, create content. Content could be something you email out, could be something you post on your website, you post it on social media. content could be videos that you're doing on a regular basis, talking about what's happening, okay, in your local area. It can be real estate related, but it doesn't have to be real estate related. So I think right now it is critically important that, number one, we're reaching out. Number two, we're posting. And of course, we're going to continue to post. Number three, every day create some form of content. And content doesn't mean that you're sitting writing for an hour. It's just find something that you could talk about that you know your audience would be interested in hearing about. Okay. The third is this. The third point is strengthen your mindset. Now, you have probably heard nonstop about mindset. Like, I bet you everybody's talking about this. But what I want to do is I want to talk to you just about the most challenging times that I have seen, or crises that have taken place in my life. Now, I've been in real estate since 1985, but I bought my first house. I was 21 years old. It was 1981. And interest rates in 1981 were 17.75%. 17.75%. Now, that was the first very difficult time trying to get into the marketplace because interest rates were so high. And the government actually started offering a $3,000 loan, a $3,000 grant and a $5,000 loan just to stimulate the market. And I bought at 17.75% because people, no matter what is going on, buy and sell real estate on a regular basis. Then what happened, I get into the real estate business and I opened up my own company. I started in 85. In 88, I moved to Toronto and I opened my own real estate company. And I'll never forget, it was February of 1989. It was like somebody shut the tap off. The market was incredibly busy and it died. And we went into a tough market for 4 to 5 years. You know, rates were floating around 12%. It was a very difficult time. And my partner and I, Dane, at the time, we had started this real estate company. But I'm telling you, what I went through in that point, it prepared me for all of the things that were to come in my future. And what I can say about what's going on right now for all of us is that you're being prepared to become better at what it is you do for a living. At this point, we don't know what we're being taught, but I'm telling you, when you come out of this, you're going to look back and say, boy, did that make me better at what it is that I do for a living. And I go back to, we look at, September 11th, when what happened. That was tragic, what happened down in the U.S. I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on that Tuesday. I was speaking. I started speaking at 9 o'clock, and everything started to take place just after 9 o'clock, 9:20, 9:30. I was 20 minutes from where one of the planes went down. I live in Toronto. When it was, after I was finished speaking, I didn't know anything that was going on, and I started to hear what was going on. I've never been so scared in my life. I mean, I couldn't get a hold of my wife back in Toronto. I didn't know what to do. I was supposed to drive from there to Cleveland that particular day. I was supposed to speak the next day. I was selling tickets to this event I had coming up in Columbus, Ohio. Obviously, that whole touring week was over. I was in tremendous financial distress at the time because, we were my burn rate was high. Our company was relatively new. I ended up getting to Cleveland. I get into my hotel, got a hold of my wife. It was eerie. There was nobody downtown. There was police and soldiers all over the place. And I didn't know. My uncertainty at that point was incredible. And I had to figure out how to get through that time. And it was difficult. It was very, very difficult. But I can look back and say, you want to know something? We're a way better company today because of what I went through then. And of course, then I went through the financial crisis. And 21 years, our company is still here. We're stronger than we ever were before. And the reason we're stronger than we ever were before is because I always believed that everything was going to be okay. See, my mindset was everything. And through every crisis that we've ever faced as a company, when we get into a crisis, what I decided to do was I decided I need to get more information out to people, no different than what I'm trying to do right now for everybody from RE/MAX Europe. So I believe that how we get through difficult times and allow ourselves to get stronger, to get smarter, because that's what difficult times do. They make us better at the end of the day. But what we need to do is we got to get outside of ourselves. See, here's what happens to a lot of people in difficult times is they cower, they focus in, they get afraid, right? And all of a sudden they're laying around and all they're doing is they're thinking about all of the challenges. They're thinking about the future. And most anxiety that we have is caused by having negative thoughts about the future. Well, I can promise you, your future is going to unfold whether you think about it or not. That's going to happen. But here's the greatest thing we can do is get outside of ourselves and figure out how can we make a contribution to our families, to the people that we serve, to the people in our database, and focus on helping others. Because please understand this, and this is how I got through and this is my dad taught me this, every challenge that I was going through in my life, and I've had many, is my dad used to say, focus on helping others, because when you're focused on yourself, you're fearful. Fear is about self-preservation. See, fear is when I'm focused on me. Fear is when I'm focused on something that might happen in my life that's going to affect me. And a lot of people say, well, no, Rich, that's not necessarily true. Because, if I'm really fearful because, one of my child's going to get hurt, that's about them. No, it's about the way it's going to make you feel at the end of the day. Nobody wants to see their child get hurt, don't get me wrong. But it's about the way it's going to affect us. It's the way it's going to make us feel. Because we might be able to handle the emotions of one of our children getting hurt. I understand that. So fear is self-centered. So the greatest thing that we can do is get outside of ourselves. The greatest thing that we can do is reach out and have conversations with other people. Because I promise you this, the giver gets the most. See, if you look at everything in your life, when you hold a door open for somebody, it makes you feel good, doesn't it? The giver gets the most. You buy somebody a cup of coffee, you let somebody in front of you in a line, the giver gets the most. See, as human beings, we are built in a way that when we do something for somebody else, it makes us feel good. It's innate in us all. The challenge is when we get inside of ourselves and all we're doing is cowering to what's going on in the world, we're fearful, we're scared, we're paralyzed. That's what happens. But when we get outside of ourselves, and I promise you this, every single phone call you make, every connection you have with somebody else is going to make you feel better. Because I know it makes me feel better. Now, it's going to make them feel better as well. We're doing it for both people because we both become winners in that particular situation. So the first thought to strengthen your mindset is understand this too will pass. There's no doubt about that. This too will pass, just like every other challenge, right, that we've been faced with as a society, right, as a world, as a country. This too will pass. We must believe that, and we've got to get outside of ourselves. The second thing I recommend to strengthen your mindset is we need to embrace some form of routine. There's no time more important than to create a routine right now. And why is that? We have uncertainty in our lives right now. All of us are facing uncertainty. And uncertainty is difficult because uncertainty causes us to be fearful, okay? What we want to do is we want to control what it is we can control because there's so much right now we can't control. Well, guess what we can control? We can control our daily routine. We can control what time we go to bed. We can control what time we get up. We can control how many hours of sleep that we get. I know we might not sleep all night, but we can control that, right? We can control what time we work out. We can control, what time we get to work, even though we're at home, but we start making our phone calls. We can control all that. So when this all happened, my wife and I, and we run the company together, she's my partner, we set up a routine for ourselves, a rough routine of what our week's going to look like, but we also created a meal routine so we could have 3 meals together every day, and here's what it looks like. Now, I'm not saying you want to do this, but this works for us. So, we get up and we have coffee and we have breakfast together. And then, today at 12 o'clock, I'm at the office right now. I'm the only one here. I'm 300 yards from my house. I'll go home and we have lunch together. Then I go back to work. She goes upstairs to work at the house. And at 6 o'clock or 6:30, we have dinner together. But we create, that's a routine. That helps us get through this. It gives us something to look forward to. Also, what about a routine of what you're going to do every day? We created a schedule as well. And it's just a rough draft of what a typical day might look like for each one of us. When we're working, right? When we're going to exercise, things like that. I tend to work out in the morning. She tends to work out in the afternoon. This is routine. See, this gives you certainty. This gives you some control in a world where sometimes we don't feel like we have control. So what I'm saying is control the controllables, because there's so many things you can't control. Then the last thing is this. It's interesting, but obviously being in the coaching business for 21 years and the seminar business for 21 years, I hear people say to me all the time, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time. I mean, I don't have time to create a listing presentation. I don't have time to learn how to use video, right? I don't have time to learn how to use BombBomb. I don't have time to create those systems. I don't have time to clean out my database, right? I don't have time to create resources. Well, guess what most of us have right now? We got nothing but what? We got nothing but time. So what I am encouraging people to do is get little yellow stickies just like this right here, okay? And create these little yellow stickies and write down the project, okay? Create it visible, it's sort of fun. Write down a project that you want to complete. And might say, that'll take me what? That's going to take me 2 days. Write the project down and put it on your wall somewhere. And then beside that, put the second project you want to complete. How long will that take you? And then as you complete a project, put an X through it or a big D for done on it, or rip it off the wall. But I'd leave it up there. And the reason I'd leave it up is because what it does, it gives you confidence, because it gives you what I call visible progress. Human beings like visible progress. That's why we love to-do lists. We love checking stuff off, right? Because it gives us visible progress. So look here, say, what do you need to work on? And the number one thing I'd suggest you work on is new technologies. Look at how can I better, okay, present my listings through video, through pictures, right? Through 3D tours. When I come out of this, what can I be doing that I'm going to lead the pack? Because we all know that RE/MAX leads the pack. So what do you want to do within the organization that leads the pack so that you can do a better job for the people that you're serving? Because as I said, as we come out of this, I think we're going to see more virtual showings. We might do a lot of virtual showings until you narrow it down to one house or one apartment or two houses or two apartments, and they're the only ones you look at, which to me is brilliant because that is the power of technology. And last couple thoughts quickly I have for you this is remember everybody, everything is going to be fine, and choose to be bigger than the situation. And remember, whatever it is you focus on is going to get bigger. You focus on the negative, it's going to get bigger in your life, right? Whatever you give energy to is going to get bigger. Get away from negative people. Get away from negative conversations. Focus on the positive. And believe me, it's easier to have a negative conversation than a positive conversation right now. So do whatever we can. Focus on what you're going to do when we come out of this. Focus on what you can do now. Focus on what you can control now. All those little things, it'll start to make a difference. I'm also creating a lot of resources right now. We're putting it on Instagram. We've got it up in Facebook. I think it's Richard Robbins' official page or something like that. You can find it. Also, we're sending a lot of information out by email right now. If you go to richardrobbins.com, you can sign up to our blogs and our email newsletters, and then you'll get all of the content. And also, actually, I just published, I've got a podcast called The Richard Robbins Show. You can find that on iTunes and Stitcher and everywhere else. And actually, I just released one yesterday of the top RE/MAX broker in the world. And Michael, you know Deborah Bain well. I just published Deborah Bain yesterday. And it's a really cool conversation of a lady that started in a very small town, had nothing, okay, was sort of a bit of an artist type. And her dad signed up to the real estate course, and he decided not to take it, and convinced her to take it and start an unbelievable career. But you should hear her journey because she went through many, many difficult times. So we have lots of resources out there. Hopefully you'll take advantage of them. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here today with you. I wish you all the best. And we're all going to come out of this together. Things are going to be great. And I hope to see you someday when I'm traveling back through Europe. Maybe they'll invite me back on a tour someday. Who knows? It's been a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks everybody. So Michael, back to you at this point, and we'll answer any questions or talk about anything you want to talk about, my friend.
Okay. Wow. There's a lot of questions coming in. Can everybody hear me, or do I still see Richard on my screen?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can hear you.
Oh, okay, good, good,
I
good.
also have some questions that I have been keeping track of. But Michael,
Okay,
I'll let you respond first, and then we can come over to the questions.
that would be great. Well, first of all, I cannot agree enough with everything Richard said. You know, keep in mind, Richard's a fantastic guy to listen to, and like he said, in good times, it's like somebody, real estate agent, calling you about your about real estate. Here's what you really have to keep in mind with somebody like Richard. He has made a life of studying what top producers, top performers in the real estate industry and other industries do to be great. By following Rich, you're going to learn what the best people are doing, and in so many cases in real time. And for me, that is what is so important for all of you. I cannot tell you enough how important it is that, can everybody see me? Because I'm seeing Haley, but I'm not quite sure how this works. But
I can see you.
okay, good. This is a time for us to rise up. Richard, thank you so much for taking the time and putting this on for us, and you really hit it spot on. This is the time to be focusing. I am totally a creature of habit and routine. I'm a little bit extreme. I wake up at 4 a.m. Almost every day. Sleeping in is sleeping until 5. That's on weekends. There's a lot of days, like I said earlier, today was 3 a.m. But I follow the same routine, making contacts, following exactly the same thing, because I know that for me, I'm the most productive in the morning. I have a scheduled time that I exercise every day. When this ends, I'm going to make a few telephone calls, and between 11 and 12 here, I know that I'm going to be exercising. And in these times, I know it's going to be back on the phone. And thinking about what is the content that people need, what do people want to hear, is so important, on top of just staying in touch, because sharing that valuable information has never been more important. And we know this right now. People are very, very uneasy for so many reasons. Everybody's living in the complete unknown. I have no idea when airplanes are going to fly, and I'm going to be able to leave the place that I came to visit for Christmas. It's unbelievable. I mean, is it going to be May? Is it going to be June? Is it going to be July? I have no idea. And on top of that, there's the idea of staying safe, knowing that there's this thing out there that wants to kill us. All of these things are playing on people, but that makes people want to talk. I really can't do more than really repeat what Rich just said. So why don't we take some of your questions, Haley?
Hi, sorry. I'm trying to share my video. We're getting a lot of questions. Can you all see me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I have been collecting.
You're much better looking than Michael, too. I want you to know that. I'm just saying that. You know what I mean?
I don't know. He has much better lighting than me. I guess it's because it's morning where you guys are. So the first question we have from Lior from Israel. He writes, or she writes, I want to know how you would analyze the crisis. Do you think house prices have dropped and or will rise after the crisis is over? Will the amount of home sales transactions then increase?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of my answer, and then I'll get Michael to maybe comment as well. My feeling, first of all, I don't understand each individual market, right? I don't know where the market was before this all took place, over in Israel or Europe. And by the way, I've been to Israel a number of times and loved it there, absolutely loved it. But I think there's going to be pent-up demand. That's what I see happening. I think, people, what happens when we come out of a difficult time is people just want to go do something, right? They They want to buy something and want to spend money. That's based on how much money they have. But I'm saying people just want to get out and actually do something again. So I think there's going to be a pent-up demand when this is all over. And I do, at least I'm predicting here in Canada that I think there's going to be a spike in real estate. And based on when we come out of this, I think there's a good possibility. Normally, the second quarter is the busiest quarter in Canada. And I tend to think the third quarter might be the busiest quarter in Canada this year. That's my feeling. I don't know, Michael, how you feel?
I believe when we come out of a crisis like this, just from a safety perspective first, there is still going to be a lot of uncertainty. It's going to be time for the economy to get rolling. We could well see a lot more listings come on the market, which means prices start to come down somewhat. But this is what I can tell you from every crisis that I've seen many at this stage. Once people realize prices are not going any lower, the buying cycle starts aggressively to ramp itself upwards. What you all need to be doing as the crisis winds down, whenever that is preparing to get as many listings as possible, making sure that they're priced appropriately for the time. Always, of course, knowing how motivated are people to sell. But, we've seen this in, whether it's in, the crisis in the United States, the crisis in Europe, specifically, somewhere like Greece, for example. Once people realize prices have bottomed out, it goes like this, and they start to buy because they know they're not going to get any lower. And they also, of course, are going to figure out that interest rates are never going to be lower. Governments are going to need to keep interest rates down. So buying a home has never been more affordable. And it's funny. I saw this posted twice. Maybe some of you have seen it. I don't know if I could. Can you read that? I don't have it as a slide.
I can read it.
Read it
At
out
the end of
loud,
the quarantine, if you decide you can't stand the people you live with, remember I'm a realtor.
After the end of the quarantine, if you can't stand the people you live with, remember I'm your realtor. I thought that was just kind of cute, but it is true. We are going to see a rebound. Things are going to get back to normal. It is going to take some time. Next question.
Yes. I'm trying to keep track of all the questions. One of the questions was the name of the app that your friend used to make 15-minute slots in the calendar. Was that Calendly?
Yeah, it's called Calendly. Do you use that at all over there, Heather?
I've heard of it. I haven't used it personally, but I believe in our markets we should be able to.
Yeah, it's amazing tool. Not
How do
only
you
right
spell it?
now, Calendly. It's like Calend, like CALANDLY. And it's an amazing tool. You can just download it on your computer, your phone, whatever you want to do, especially for real estate agents. We have it on our websites. In other words, if you went to our website, just as an example how people use it, and it said, I want to know more about your coaching program, as an example. You click on the link, and it opens up time slots in my sales team schedule, and you actually book a time in for 50 minutes or 30 minutes. You decide how long you want the time slot to be, and you decide what days you're opening up your calendar, and it automatically books it right into your calendar.
I'm getting a lot of responses. People in Europe are already using it. Some people are familiar with it. So thanks to everyone who helped us with the spelling there in the chat. The next question is, who's buying property at the moment? Personally, I work a lot with investors. They all seem to be holding on before they actually buy something new. I don't have any desperate investors yet that have overtraded. This kind of gets you stuck. What should we do?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, if you're working with investors, I think here's what's going to happen. When this is over, investors are going to come out of the woodwork. If there's not people already out there, like I'll tell you right now, in this market, there's a lot of people. Cash is king. People got cash. What are they going to want to do with cash?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what investors usually have is cash. That's why they're investors, right? So what are they going to want to do? They're going to start buying up what they think is going to appreciate in value. And I would say probably the stock market is going to be a part of that. Not a game that I play personally, but I still like real estate. And I think you're going to see people really start to buy real estate. I think what you have to do is start communicating with your investors and start showing them opportunities, not wait for them to come to you. I would start communicating with them, say, look at, this particular, apartment or house or whatever, this is what it would have cost 6 months ago. And these people really need to get out because remember, I said, people are always buying and selling real estate. And there's some people right now that have to get out. And you say, well, you taking advantage of them, because they're selling at a really good price. No, you're helping them, right? Get out. It's no different than I look at this. I say, when I buy a suit at regular price, my tailor, twice a year, he has sales. He's got to get rid of the summer stuff and he's got to get rid of the winter stuff. Well, he calls me when his sale is on and said, Rich, come on in. We got everything on sale. And I don't feel like I'm taking advantage. I'm helping him get his money back so he can go buy stock so he can buy new stuff. So don't feel like you're taking advantage of somebody that needs to sell. You're helping them get out. You're helping them get their money. So find the deals and take them to investors. That would be my feeling.
Yeah. I would really concur with that. The thing to keep in mind with investors is investors are much more patient and willing to take their time. They're the people that are really going to be looking and waiting for the bottom of the market, and then they're going to be ready to act. And that is why so much of our focus has to be on getting listings and focusing on people who really do need to sell. They need to move for whatever reason. Let's hope it's not for crisis reasons. And what investors really like, I think we all know, they love information. They want to be fed what exactly is happening, not just in the overall market, in the country that they're in, not even just in the city that they're in, but in the specific areas where they would like to buy. The more micro information you can feed to investors, and also be really prepared to be able to work with them on financing, investors are going to want to put a certain amount of money down. They're going to need to borrow X amount. There's never been a more important time to be able to understand what is the cost to borrow 100,000 euros per month to pay back. Well, we know that that's somewhere around 400 euros a month. So if they put 50% down and they're going to pay X amount in a mortgage, how do you explain that to them? What are the rents in the area that you're in? Because, depending on the level of sophistication of the investor, sometimes it's just people wanting to buy their first or second investment property. They're not really aware of what the rents are. What does the landlord pay for? What can the landlord expect? More sophisticated investors are going to know these things. Investors love information, but they're going to time the market to the bottom. Our job when we come out of this is very much going to be get as many listings as possible.
100%. Get listings.
Really?
Get listings, get listings, get listings.
Yes.
And in any market, people go, good, bad market. What should I do? Get listings, get listings, get listings, get listings. And the other thing I want to say, you're right, is create opportunities for people. That's what Michael's talking about here. Don't be waiting for them. You got to create the opportunities. You got to go say, hey, here's what I found. I think this is great. Look at the rents here. And I think that's what Michael's talking about, which is very good advice.
Amazing. I know that we're running out of time, but there are so many questions. I just have maybe a few more, if that's all right with both of you.
Go for it.
I have a question from Sergio. He wants to know what the number of DTU means. Richard, that was in your presentation.
Oh, yeah. First of all, Bernard Rashkin from Israel, I got your message here on my phone, and I want to thank you so much for your very kind message. And I love you, man. DTU is Deliver the Unexpected. So about 7-8 years ago, I wrote a book called Deliver the Unexpected. And so our whole company talks about DTUing, and we try to teach our customers to DTU, which is somehow, some way, deliver the unexpected. I always say it's what we do after we've done what we're expected to do that ultimately determines our results. So, when you're making these phone calls, you're delivering the unexpected. Because they think you got your problems right now. Why you're reaching out to me? When you post great content, that is relevant to today, you're delivering the unexpected, right? And that's what I mean, because believe me, most agents right now are not doing that. And so that's the advantage.
That's amazing. That's also goes hand in hand to our customer experience push that we're doing across Europe too. So this is exactly what I write about in all of the trainings that RE/MAX Europe is putting out as well.
The opportunity to create a better customer experience has never been better for us. I know that all of the RE/MAX people are already really working on this. The more listings that come to market, the more motivated I hope many of you are going to be to cooperate with each other and sell each other's listings, buyers and sellers, and two agents working together on a transaction, and showing people that by exposing their property to the most people that they can get the best price. And really, no matter what it is, the difference in what you can do, like Richard said, deliver the unexpected.
I had a question from a participant that was wondering about time management. He said that he's struggling with time management. Now, Richard, you mentioned before that you have more time now than ever. He was saying yes, but on the other hand, he's struggling because he's at home and he has to cook for his kids, and his kids are being homeschooled at the moment. So he's wondering a little bit about what you would recommend in terms of time management.
I could speak to, let me speak to time management, because I'm a nut on this. Everything has a start time, everything has an end time, and I let people know when things are going to end, just like I let people know when things are going to start. Talk faster, do everything faster. Breakfast is at this time, workout is at this time, calls are at this time. Calls don't need to be, why have to take 30 minutes for a call that you can do in 10 minutes? Why take an hour to do a call that you can do in 30 minutes? There needs to be a beginning and an end to everything. Everybody, if you're living with a family, needs to know what their responsibilities are right now. If you're one of the breadwinners in the family, one of the people out there earning the money, it is your job to continue to treat this like a work day to the best of your ability, and to be focused on building your business, because there's never been a better time to create content. So many agents underutilize tools like Instagram. You know, if every RE/MAX agent or every RE/MAX office learned how now to buy local Instagram advertising, we could overwhelm Instagram, not just with our listings, but information about the areas and neighborhoods that we live in, market information, what are apartments renting for, at what size, what's happening in prices, what does it take to get a mortgage, all of these things. And for time management, you need to be focused on, when am I going to do this? When am I going to do that? When am I going to have time just to be creative?
Yeah, totally agree. A lot of our clients, it's a really good question, because a lot of our clients have asked the same thing, because they're dealing with that. And I know, one of our clients, Steve is his name, he's out in Vancouver, and his wife has the kids for X number of hours a day, and then he has the kids for X number of hours a day. One will cook breakfast while the other is working at that time. Also, what they've all done is each person in their family has a schedule on the fridge. And okay, what's today look like for all of us, right? Who's doing the dishes? Who's doing this? Because part of it is keeping the kids busy when you have kids at home, right? So what does their schedule look like? And do your best to open up space. So for yourself, so you can do what it is you have to do. But in all fairness, if you put in a solid, think about this right now in the industry, because you're not out, say showing property or meeting with sellers in their home, we've got to have more time available. If you just took 2 to 4 hours a day and commit that to phoning and developing content, you're doing 100 times more than most agents right now. So pick the amount of hours you're going to work, but work those hours.
And routine. Doing the same thing every day creates a routine, because everybody knows what to expect.
Absolutely. I'm getting another few questions that are all around the same topic, and it's about being a newcomer to the industry or to RE/MAX. So all of you guys who are newcomers, thank you so much for joining. The newcomers to Remax are asking, how can I build my database during this time? And what can I do specifically as a newcomer if I don't have as much experience with clients yet? How can I still provide value and support them?
Well, I personally would still be reaching out to everybody, like, because you know family, you know friends, you know businesses owners, you know, like that. Start reaching out and doing the same thing with those people and creating a database. This is a time, you know, right now our company is, we're building our following in a big way right now, because I'm doing so many of these that people are, you know, joining the Instagram or getting on our email. So one of our big initiatives right now is we really want to try to grow our audience, right? To get our message out to more people. You all need to be doing the same. And even if you're brand new, that doesn't mean that you can't be posting great content about what's happening in the local market or what's going on in your community. That's content. We all can do that. Doesn't matter whether you're experienced or not. But this is why I'd be creating a database of phoning everybody you know. If you know somebody by first name, phone them and then get them in your database. So, you know, we all can be building right now.
Yes, I totally agree. Everybody has an address book and a contact list in their phones. Start at A and work your way through. There's absolutely nobody that you shouldn't be or can't be connecting with just to say hello. Same thing goes for so many businesses, whether it's local restaurants, cleaners, stores, whatever. People are working from their cell phones, so they have the same phone numbers. They're going to be answering. They're just going to happening to be at home. Say, you know, hey, I was thinking about you, wondering how things are going. You know, nobody knows more potential clients than other business owners, and being able to you know, call all of the local people. You know, call them out of the blue. Why not? We're in the sales business, and nobody's going to be complaining about connecting right now. That is absolutely the way to build your database, and of course using social media. Like if you look at my social media, I have my Michael Polzler, which is more about the story of my life and what's happening in my life every day. And then for content, we have, of course, Remax Europe, where they're posting lots of videos from myself and other things that we're doing as a business. You know, learning how to use social media, collecting followers, start following local businesses. Once they see that you're following them, a lot of people will follow back. Connect on social media and have something to say on the comments that other people are making on things that they're posting. Be engaged is the best way for whether you're an existing agent or a newcomer to the business to develop your database.
Absolutely. If I might add one other thing, especially online, now is the opportunity, of course, since we are all doing some social distancing and can't meet people in person. But if you're just trying to, I noticed that you, the person who was asking was specifically wondering about building your database online. You can look up different Facebook groups. You can expand your network by engaging people in conversation that are already part of the Facebook group. And that's a great way if you're looking into localized Facebook groups to build your database locally online, and it's for free. So that's also another tip.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we're running a bit over, so maybe I'll take one more question. And this one is, when do you think we're going to be getting back to normal? How long do you think this will take? Do you think we will go back to it being normal, or do you think that we're going to be moving forward into an entirely new tech real estate industry, and that it'll just be entirely different from now on?
Okay. Rich?
You want me to go?
Sure,
so
Rich.
when we go back, you know, when's this all going to be over? Let's face it, it would only be a guess on my part. Right now in Canada, remember, Canada is behind Europe, right? Because you experienced the virus before we did. And I'm just planning the end of June. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, you know, we've shut all our events down. Imagine I got events going on all the time and they're just done. right? It's just over. So it's a big adjustment for our organization to have to deal with if you're in the public event business, which we are. So I'm right now to the end of June, I'm going, we're doing nothing, and let's see how it all plays out. Will things go back to normal? Business is going to go back to normal, but do I think it'll be done in a slightly different way? Sure. I think there's going to be an evolution. I don't think it's going to be drastically different, but I do think there's going to be a slight evolution. And I think right now, people like yourself that are watching this, if you spend more time understanding and using technologies and communicating on social media, and like, Haley has talked about, get involved in Facebook groups. I think we're going to learn. This is our opportunity just to get on and play around and figure all that out. Like, this is such a beautiful time, right? Like, if you haven't been using Zoom, how do you use Zoom, right? How do you sit and create videos? How do you set up a studio? Like, I'm sitting in a studio or not a studio, but I'm in an office. It's all set up as a studio. Maybe you need to set up a studio where you can do more. So I think it's going to evolve. And by the way, it should evolve. And this might force us to evolve a little faster, which isn't a bad thing. And this is our opportunity to learn. So that's the way I'm going with it all. Is I think I'm trying to learn better technology right now, as I think everybody else should.
That was right on, Rich. The first thing I thought when I heard the question was, there is no normal. We have had a very consistent market where demand has been very high for a long time. What you got to understand is the new normal coming out of this is going to be that there's going to be a lot more people probably needing to sell, more than likely. Full economic recovery is going to take time. Businesses will not gear up. Industry will not gear up instantly. Everybody will not go back to work instantly for people who are working in factories and restaurants and all of those things. I believe that's going to take, probably in the range of a year before we start to see employment numbers really balance out. But I'm a strong believer in that there is no normal ever. You always need to be adapting to where you're at, and because although there is no normal, I'm a big believer that there is always opportunity. What we can do by honing our skills, using things like what Richard talked about and what RE/MAX Europe is talking about, is we can change the way real estate is done, because our competitors are not all going to be following us. They're not part of a network. They're not organized the way that this is. There is going to be a significant amount of opportunity in the marketplace for people in our industry who are prepared and who play things right. Never been a better time to become the local expert and use, again, all of the tools that other people aren't using. I think this is the last words I'm probably going to be able to get to say. So wanted to thank everybody so much. I glanced at my Instagram while Richard was on, and I see I've got so many new followers. Please follow RE/MAX Europe also, because as I said, my Instagram is more of the story of my life, as where RE/MAX Europe's really a lot of content, but I love that you follow me also. And everybody, please stay connected. I love being connected to people. I love interaction, and we're all going to be okay. Let's just focus and expect the unexpected.
Yes, absolutely. Richard, do you have any final words of wisdom to share?
Well, first of all, I can't believe how big Michael's getting. I haven't seen him in person in probably a year or so, but he's got some pretty big muscles going on there.
If you watch his Instagram, you can see what he does to work out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. I think now I'll feel very comfortable going in bad areas of cities with Michael. You know what I mean? He can look after me. But anyway, thank you. First of all, thanks RE/MAX Europe for having me. It's always a pleasure. I love you guys to death. You know that we've had the good fortune of working together for a long time, and I always enjoy myself, and I love when I'm over in Europe. Any speaking engagements I've done have been amazing. I think RE/MAX Europe has done such an amazing job in their growth. I'm astounded by what you guys have done, and I can see that you're going to continue to lead the industry, and you're going to lead the industry out of this. And I think this is a great opportunity for all of us just to get a little bit better. And you know, we always need to be learning and growing, and that's what this is forcing us to do, isn't it? And that's not a bad thing. Don't resist it, right? Jump in. You know, don't be afraid. Say, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So thanks for having me. It's always good to see everybody. It's good to see you, Haley, and it's good to see you, Michael, and it's good to see all of the comments. And I've got a whole bunch of text and messages from people on my phone that I haven't had a chance to look at, but I will. So thank you for all your kind comments. My pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Richard. It's been really amazing, and thank you, Haley, and the whole Remax Europe team. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I have a feeling we're going to be doing this again and more often. Thanks,
yes,
everybody.
Absolutely. And before you all go exactly to that point, this has been the kickoff of a larger webinar series called Level Up in 60 Minutes. So you can either watch Remax Europe's social media channels to learn more, or your Remax region should be sending you information. We did get a lot of questions about how to keep generating leads online. The focus of the next few upcoming webinars is going to be on social media, videos. Next Monday, we're going to be having a session with Jesse Peters on how to maximize social media during COVID. And I'm going to be hosting a session on how to do 2 simple social media ads that work. So if you're curious about learning more about social media and video, be sure to tune in to the webinar series. More information to follow. Thank you again so much to everybody who attended, and a huge thank you to Richard and Michael for your time. It has been incredibly valuable, not just to me, but to everybody who participated. So thank you so much.
Everybody together. Woo!
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
See you later.